Here we go. Tatum. Giannis switches onto him. Tatum and Antetokounmpo, the superstar. Step back three on the way. Oh! It banks in! Jason Tatum puts Boston on top with a window three. How about that?
What's going on, Ride the Wave Nation? Jake Seymour here, joined with Reid Miller for another episode of the GRD Podcast. Today we're going to be breaking down the Celtics-Bucks game. Just watched that absolute thriller of a game. That was a crazy game, Reid.
Oh, give me a second to catch my breath here.
Well, you catch your breath. I'm going to tell you guys about our sponsor for this episode. This episode is sponsored by BostonBig3.com. Make sure you guys head over there and you guys can check out all the merch we have on there. Guys like Joe Stacker's always putting out new stuff, so make sure you guys go over there and check out the merch over there.
I'll be honest, I was very skeptical about those first two games. You're going up against the two titans of the Eastern Conference in the Milwaukee Bucks and Brooklyn Nets back-to-back. I said that I didn't know if a 2-0 start was likely. I said I would have been fine with a 1-1, and I'm already satisfied. That could change on come Christmas, though. But, oh, my God. I don't know what else to say, but oh, my God. I mean, where do you want to begin? Yeah.
You want to talk about where we begin? I got a whole little pad of notes right here. We can talk about it.
There you go.
So let's just start. We'll get the bad out of the way first. Let's just start with the bad. So JT Tatum, he had a slow start to the game. Obviously, the reason why he won the game, he hit the game-winning shot, and I'm not gonna get mad at him over the slow start. But it is something you get to look at and say, he did have a slow start, and that's something that can affect a lot of players if they don't, start up right when the game starts. They take a while to get into that groove. You kind of start in that second quarter, he started to pick it up a little bit. But, Reid, that's something you got to worry about with Tatum, like, down the road. Like, maybe there are just some games where he just starts out slow and doesn't get on fire like he did tonight.
Well, this is nothing new. I mean, this is what he did in the regular season last year. Somebody's done all career, not even just the regular season last year, but especially in the bubble. He comes out, he starts off like someone bad, like 2 for 7 or 2 for 9, something along those lines. And sometimes he recovers, like we saw tonight in the second half, and other times it just continues and just keeps chucking and is ultimately detrimental to the team. So he does need to work on coming out of the gates hot. He also needs to work on finishing layups. 2 missed open layups at the start of the game. Like you said, recovered nicely. But one thing I did like was his post-game interview. He admittedly said he played terrible after while the stat line was showing of him with 30 points and with the game winner in his post-game interview. But he did like he went out of his way to give credit to Jaylen Brown and Jeff Teague and Tristan Thompson, the new guys. Very mature response I liked from a 22-year-old.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, I'll say it caught me off guard a little bit. I wasn't expecting that kind of response from Tatum. Not because he's like one of the guys that just doesn't do that. It's just like he hasn't done it before, and I wasn't really expecting it. But you're right, it was a very mature response on his part. But the one thing with Tatum and that I like him a lot. Obviously, like he's a great player. He's going to be a superstar, but it's hard to elevate him to that next level at superstar level if he comes out and has slow starts like this. Like, he finished tonight with 30 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists. But if you continuously come out and consecutively have slow starts, it's hard for me to be like, yes, he's a superstar on the level with LeBron James and Kevin Durant. It's hard for me to say that because those guys don't come out and have consistently slow starts. Like if there's going to be a point in his career, I know he's only, it's only his 4th season in, but there's going to be a point in his career where he has to be at that level that the Celtics want to win and want to attract these free agents.
Yeah, I mean, Chris Webber touched on it when his commentary when he said that. That's kind of like the beauty of the Celtics roster and how they're constructed with guys with Tatum and Brown at the helm of it all. That if one's off, the other is often able to pick themselves up, and it'll kind of balance out by the end of the game. We saw that with Jaylen Brown coming out of the gates hot, and he never went back. He finished with 33, I want to say. I know the J and J each had 30 or more.
Yeah, Brown had 33.
33 and Jaylen and Tatum had 30, so combined for 63. That's huge for guys. Yeah. For 2 guys that are 22 and 24 playing against the team with the reigning 2-time MVP, the reigning Defensive Player of the Year, who will get touched on that later. How Jason Tatum banged a 3 with 0.4 seconds left on the reigning Defensive Player of the Year right in his face.
Oh, before I get to that shot, because trust me, we will definitely get to that shot. Let's just talk about the shooting in general. I'm going to call this like the big 4 for this game, I guess you could say. This consists of obviously Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, but also Tristan Thompson and Jeff Teague. They each shot, Teague shot 47%, Tristan shot 60, Brown was 54, and Tatum was 43. those are ridiculous shooting percentages from those 4 guys. And they each had, a decent amount of points all the way down right there. But, I mean, the lowest one was 43%. Like, that's not bad at all to shoot like that.
Yeah, it's almost like signing Jeff Teague and Tristan Thompson were good things. Like what Celtics Twitter likes to think. Like to think impulsively and not see it through. It's only the first game of the regular season, and there's still 71 more games to play. But it's nice to see some vindication, I guess, for the loyal Celtics fans and want to see things through.
I honestly wonder, this is one thing I had a thought in the game. Obviously, these shooting numbers were really good, right? And, the one thing I kept thinking about was, is playing in the game like that, is it more like shooting in, like, pregame when there's, like, no fans in the building? Because obviously there's no fans at the Garden, right? So is shooting in the game, is it similar to shooting pregame like that? Because there's no fans and you don't have to, worry about that other stuff. And, it's kind of more subtle background, so does it make it easier to shoot like we saw in the bubble? I saw somewhat, like Braun was saying, that it was like an AAU tournament, in the bubble and at the Staples Center. So maybe that has something to do with the shooting percentage as well. But either way, it was a great shooting night for the Celtics.
Yeah, I had a take I was developing today even before the game that we saw in the bubble how, first in the regular season last year, Jason Tatum was coming off just a stellar run that last stretch of the season before shutdown in February and March. And then they go into shutdown and they come back in the bubble without fans. And he wasn't quite the same player. He was still a very positive player on the court for the Celtics, but he wasn't quite that blossoming star that we saw in February and March. I think Tatum, not anymore. I completely erased my take today in the game, but maybe this guy just needs a crowd, like that Boston Celtics crowd. There's some impact behind that, and I think it benefited Tatum. Like you look at his big moment environment with the crowd interacting, like the game where he had against New York last year, or the comeback against Milwaukee last year in that pull-up 3, and or the Clippers game, that hostile environment, how we saw Tatum once again have that big game. Just moments like that. And maybe it's completely wrong, just coincidental, and he can still prove to be impactful night in, night out. And I think that's what it comes down to. Just no matter the environment, he just needs to be that impactful player he can be. Yeah,
I mean, I think the fans in general have an effect on every player in the league, whether you're LeBron James or you're the rookie like Peyton Pritchard coming in. I mean, it's hard to, you got to think like these guys, they were the best of the best in their high school teams and in their state, and then they were, good players on college, and now they're the best in the world, right? So they're used to performing in front of these huge crowds, these crazy numbers, crazy arenas. So the fact that these arenas are just empty has to mess with them somehow. And, going back to it, the TD Garden fans, I mean, Reid, you've been to Celtics games. I've been there. The Garden gets crazy when it gets going. So, that hurts opposing teams, and the Celtics just feed off that. So it's going to be interesting to see throughout the season how that works. And, if the Celtics really get affected by that.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about these guys are young, and by these guys, I mean Tatum and Brown at 24 and 22, and they're these blossoming superstars. They might even already be there with that much playoff experience that they've had to this point, but much of that experience has been off of feeding off the crowd, and now if they can't do that, they might have to find motivation elsewhere, and there's instances of that tonight, and I'm confident moving forward. I think this is a huge win for us in the long run, not just for tonight, but it's got to get off track, but it's just finding ways to get by here and there until Kemba Walker comes back. And this is already Tatum and Brown's team, I think. And it's not a stretch to say. I know Kemba Walker is a former All-Star, even as much as last year as he was a starter, but just that add element's going to be crazy when he's back.
Yeah, that actually was brought up on the stream. I don't know if you caught it in the beginning. I think it was, who was doing the stream on TNT? Was it Chris Webber was one of the guys?
Weber and this other annoying guy.
I don't remember who it was. I think Weber said it though. He had a quote and he was like, "This is Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown's team." And honestly, I think that was the first time that I heard those two guys put in the same sentence like that in reference to being like the leaders on the team. Up to when I heard that, I was like, I can't recall a time before that where I heard national level people saying this is Tatum and Brown's team heading into the regular season like this. I think this is the first year it's like being said.
I think much of that is Jaylen Brown himself getting recognition. Last year we talked about was Tatum's ascension to superstar at age 21 at that point, but now Brown's finally getting that recognition and respect, and it's well deserved. It's well overdue at this point, in my opinion.
Yeah, speaking of Jaylen Brown, he just looked awesome all throughout the game. I mean, I don't think there was a point in the game where I said, Brown, like, what are you doing? You got to hit that, or Brown, like, do this or whatever. Like, he played great. He had that, obviously he had 33 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. But I think one of the best plays he had tonight was, I think had a great chase down block. I don't remember who was on, but that block was insane. What a great hustle play by him. And that was awesome to see.
Yeah, a few of those hustle plays. I know it translated to an and one for Chevy on the other end of the floor, but it's just you're watching him grow up on the floor in front of your eyes, and you can see that he wants to take that leadership role, and he did that tonight. How many times with the ball in his hands, just about every possession, and that dribble pull up mid range shot is seemingly automatic at this point. He got to assume it's going in every time. He's become a threat on all ends of the floor, and it's awesome to watch him and Tatum grow up.
I mean, Jaylen Brown, that play where he got that chase down block and he got the semi-Ojale and one on the other end, those are the plays that are going to win you championships in this league. It all starts on the defensive end. We started in 2008 with that Celtics team. They were a defensive-minded team, and they had a great offense on the other end. Those are the plays right there that are going to win you a team, and that's why you're going to be playing in June.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up another point is that I'm going to kind of segue to a different point, but last year we didn't have any bench scoring, and you bring in Jeff Teague, and how much did he finish with? If it was like 18 or something? 20?
19,
I think it was more than that.
19 points, 3 rebounds, and 4 assists.
Yeah, it was like 4 for 4 from 3, 5 for 5.
Yeah. He was 4 for 4 from 3, 47% from the field.
Yeah, that's where the team was missing last year. They didn't have not just bench scoring, but they didn't have that wild card. Like that game 6 when we were eliminated by Miami, like Andre Iguodala was that wild card. That series, Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson shooting the lights out was just a wild card. I mean, they can't do that night in, night out, but it's what killed the Celtics. We had no answer for it. Jeff Teague can be that. Tristan Thompson can be that. It can be that sort of player that they don't have much of an answer for, that he just gets hot on the perfect night, and Teague was just hot tonight.
I said it once, I'll say it again. Jeff Teague will win 6th Man of the Year this year, especially if he plays like that. I mean, that's a ridiculous stat line for someone that came off the bench. 19, 3, and 4. I mean, like, that doesn't get any better than that. That's perfect for a 6 man.
For his role, yeah, especially without Kemba Walker.
Yeah, obviously that's a good point. His minutes will go down with Kemba being back, but also so will Pritchard, so maybe his doesn't go down as much. And I think Smart played 38 minutes. Does Smart play 38 minutes when Kemba's there? Who knows, right? So I don't know what will happen with that. But speaking of the minutes and the rotation, unless you have something to say, I'm going to pivot.
Okay, I was going to say that we saw a different lineup in the preseason games, but they moved to a 2 big lineup for the first time since like the days of Horford and Baines share the floor together. But what did you think of the Tyson Thompson front court to start the game today? I wanted to hear your opinion about that.
So I actually really liked it. I liked just how it happened, because Tyson's originally a power forward. I think a lot of people forget that he came in the league as a 4, not a 5, and last year was his transitional year to playing the 5 role. So the fact that we can bring in a guy like Thompson and have him play the 5, and then have Tyson there at the 4. I mean, it's not the best big man duo in the league, but it's certainly not the worst. It's far from the worst. And let me just say this: Tristan Thompson on Giannis, that looked really good. Like, I don't know if it was like Giannis just not having a great night in the beginning, but Tristan Thompson just locked him up, I feel like, all in that first quarter.
Yeah, there's gonna be nights when it works, nights when it doesn't work, but it's like it's important. You're just finding ways to get by till your franchise point guard comes back, and kind of going like a big ball line, a big man lineup, as opposed to a small ball with Smart, Jalen, Tatum, and then the 2 bigs, Tyson Thompson. Which Thompson was on a minutes restriction, but I felt like he played a lot of minutes. Like, it would have just been the same amount of minutes we would have seen from a night-to-night basis. But I like it. I mean, there's going to be, like I said, it's going to be matchups where it just won't work and you can't run that lineup, but it worked.
Yeah, it definitely did work. And the one thing, too, speaking of Thompson before we move on, Thompson was finally the big man presence that the Celtics needed and went out and got. I mean, how many times tonight he had 4 offensive rebounds? How many times tonight did you see him cleaning up on the glass like that? I mean, that's someone like, when was the last time that you saw a big man like that rebound like that? I mean, yes, it was only 8 rebounds, but I just felt like every time we needed a rebound, he was right there. Or if he didn't get the rebound, he was right there hustling for it. I mean, I can't recall another big man like that for a while.
Not since KG.
I can't. That's what I was going back to, KG.
Yeah.
That's crucial to a basketball team. I mean, think about, if you go back and look at those big men, I mean, I feel like every championship team has a big man like that. If you go back and look at it, the Raptors, they had Marc Gasol. Go back before. I mean, people don't really like Draymond Green, but you can't deny that he's not a good forward, at that role. even going back further, obviously KG in 08, and then the other Gasol with the Lakers. So, I mean, big man is very crucial to win in NBA championships.
Yeah, and it was missing last year. I mean, bring in Enes Kanter last year, who I think Thompson now is the big man that, and we wanted Enes Kanter to be. Granted that Thompson's a lot better on the other side of the ball on defense, and Enes Kanter couldn't guard a traffic cone.
Right.
But he's the rebounder that we need, and it showed tonight. There was a few extra plays of added offensive rebounds go a long way, and they're going to go a long way.
Yeah, always a great overall game by the players. But one thing I do want to touch on is Brad Stevens. Brad Stevens, I don't know if he just rethought about his coaching style in the offseason or what happened with him, but I just felt like he came out tonight and was just almost a different coach. I saw early on in the first quarter, usually when I watch the Celtics games and the Celtics start to lose it and the Bucks go on a run or the opposing team go on a run, I'd say, okay, Brad, time for a timeout. Can you call a timeout, please? Get this guy out, and he doesn't do it. All of a sudden, I think it was a 9-7 or 9-8. It was something like that. And Brad called a timeout, and I was like, "Oh, that was quick." I mean, I want you to call it, but I wasn't expecting you to call it. You know what I mean? That was awesome to see from Brad.
Yeah, that was. I was very pleased with what he did tonight. It was very different, like you said. But I will say one constructive criticism. I will say is that I think that big run by the Bucks in the fourth quarter was due to guys like Semi Ojeleye, Pritchard, and Grant Williams being on the floor, just maybe like a minute or two too long. You want to rest guys like Tatum for that final stretch, like he did in the last 6-7 minutes. But I say minor tweaks. I mean, it's the first game of the year; you can't really critique that. But it was an overall positive. He, like you said, he knew when to call timeout. His rotations were a little bit better. That was a little gray area, like I said, in the fourth quarter, but that was huge. And I think it's going to be a lasting impact, like we talked about off stream with Marcus Smart only getting 5 shots today, and it was a net positive.
Yeah, I mean, I was just about to get to that. Marcus Smart, he only did have those 5 shots. And the thing I noticed, and Reid, I said this to you off air, I said, there wasn't a time tonight where I saw Smart shoot the ball, and I wasn't screaming at my television telling him, Smart, what are you doing? Like, I didn't have that moment tonight. Usually I do. And the fact that I didn't have that moment, I realized, wait a minute. Like, why didn't I have that moment? And I went back and looked, and like I said, only 5 shots. And honestly, I don't know if you guys heard about it, but Brad Stevens had that role meeting and hierarchy meeting with the Celtics after the preseason loss to the Nets. I honestly think that meeting worked, because why would Smart only have 5 shots? He had 3 points and 5 shots. Like, why would he do that? He would never do that.
I mean, it's also kind of contradicts your point saying that Smart has an ego, and clearly he's able to swallow that ego for one night at least.
I will concede that take if Marcus Smart continuously does stuff like this, because I've said it before, I'll say it again. He doesn't need to shoot the ball. And that's what I said. That's where the ego take comes from, is the fact that he shoots the ball so much, and I feel like that has to do with his ego. If he doesn't shoot the ball at all, then that's fine. You got rid of your ego. I'll concede the take. I don't care at that point, because at that point we're winning basketball games, and he's making the plays that win us basketball games. How many times tonight do we see Giannis get a charge on, or Smart force a charge on Giannis? That happened 3 times, and then on top of that,
One on Grant too.
I was about to get to that. By him doing that, he leads by example, and Grant Williams steps up and takes one. Now you have 4. Giannis had 4 fouls. That is huge on Giannis, the reigning MVP.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's Smart having an ego. I think just his brain and his body going a million miles an hour, and you can see that with his hustle plays, obviously. I think he kind of saves some extra left over for his offensive game, and it results in poor shot creating. But he did say he's going to be more careful in his shot selection, and tonight proved that. You just got to see it happen. You just got to go see it do it again and again.
Right. And you know what, Smart? I'll make a little promise with you, Marcus Smart. It's currently an hour after the first game. If you average less than 8 shots per game, I will concede your ego take. Because if you average less than 8 shots per game, I'll concede it, because I want to see you not shoot the ball more than 8 times a game. Preferably, if you want to go 6 shots, I'd be on cloud 9 with that. But I'll take 8 shots.
Yeah. Also, shout out Kyle Baxter. Thanks for hopping on the stream today. His prediction for Defensive Player of the Year. If he puts up performances like this night in, night out, how can you not give it to him? He can be the first guard he gets since Gary Payne in 1995. Yeah, Alfred Payne's next up. Sorry, I forgot to tell you. But I don't see why he couldn't. I mean, he had those 3 charges on Giannis. He had a few steals when he was in the post. Just winning plays, like we said, it's what he does. Sometimes he's maddening to watch on offense, but you forgive him for what he does. overall to help the team.
Or you have nights like tonight where he has 5 shots and you're not mad at him at all on the offensive end. That can happen too, and that was great to see. Another point too, just because you brought up that, and I want to throw it at Jeff Teague as well. He had some great defensive plays as well. I think who was driving to the basket? I think it was
DiVincenzo.
Yeah, he was driving to the basket and he tipped the ball out and it hit off his foot and rolled out of bounds. That was a great defensive play. I think was it Brown on the right side of that play? I think it was. There was another Celtic on the right side.
It was smart.
Smart. Okay, so there you go.
You kind of fell with him. Yeah, you kind of fell with him. But
that was perfect. That was a good play.
Teague and Thompson are such Celtics. Oh my god.
Dude, I jokingly said it, but it was kind of something in the back of my head where I was like, the Kardashians are coming with Thompson, So I was worried about that, but Thompson, he doesn't remind you of a Kardashian. I don't know,
But I'm gonna say this: you can't have fans in the arena, so are they really bringing the Kardashians there?
That is true. That's
really
a good
bringing
point.
them? Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, Tristan Thompson. Obviously, I couldn't watch a lot of him because he played on the crappy Cavaliers team the last couple of years, and they didn't get the national games like they did before. But when the Cavs were good with LeBron, I used to watch it, damn, Thompson's good. He's one of those he's one of those big men that doesn't get the credit he deserves. And I mean, I'm going to say this a lot this season, I feel like, and God rest his soul, but Tommy Heinsohn, this would have been a game he would have loved from Thomas. I mean, this is a guy like Tristan Thompson. Tommy would have been all over. Because, we've always said Tommy loves the big man. Whether he's a Celtic or he's a 76er, whatever it is. Tommy loves the big man.
Yeah, I feel like Tommy would also be a big Pritchard guy. I know he's a big guy, but I think he'd be a big Pritchard guy. But going back to Thompson, he in those series against the Celtics in the playoffs, he had Al Horford and Alcatraz for a 7-game series. Yeah, and now we have him on our side. It's too bad Al moved on from Philly because I think that's a huge trump card for us. I'm not even joking. It sounds as ridiculous as it is, but I think it's huge. But it's not. But we do get the guy. We do get Thompson, and I think that's gonna pay dividends down the long run, especially when you have playmakers like Marcus Smart and now Jaylen Brown, who had a few, and Jeff Teague included. He had that nice fake shot, kind of dumped down to Robert Williams. I don't know if you remember that play, but it was just a smooth play. That's what you get with Jeff Teague off the bench.
I love Jeff Teague. He's gonna win 6 Man of the Year, and that prediction's gonna be right. I'm gonna be so happy. But
I don't think he's missed a 3-pointer as a Celtic yet. I'm knocking on wood right now. Don't worry, listeners.
No, but for real though, let's talk about the Bucks because someone with this Bucks team. I'm just gonna read through. I'm gonna call again this is their big four, right? So you have Giannis. Obviously, he had 35 points, 13 rebounds, 2 assists. Middleton had 27, 14, and 8. Dante, he had 15, 5, and 3, and then Holiday, he was 25, 6, and 3. So looking at those numbers real quick, outside of those 4, nobody else really scored the ball and really did too much outside of that, right? So that was one thing that we kind of talked about heading into the season where the Bucks are going to be good because they have Giannis, Holiday, and Chris Middleton, but they're going to lack in the playoff because they don't have a good bench, right? And obviously in the playoffs, you don't need that extremely strong 12-man rotation, but you need at least an 8-man rotation. And I don't know if they have that at all.
Yeah, that's the price you pay for sacrificing your starting point guard, Eric Bledsoe, your likely 6-man, and George Hill, and future picks. That's what you get for sacrificing those assets and those role players for Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday is obviously better than both of those and is an all-star caliber player, but you lose him and you lose Wesley Matthews and you just you lose those pieces. You lose Robin Lopez and you're left with a less deep of a roster, which maybe will help you come playoff time where you can just get those 2-3 guys come off the bench. So you got to find them this year, but someone's up with this Bucks team, and it's just like I said, it's one game, and maybe nothing's up because we saw them be able to come back and take advantage of our unforced errors in that fourth quarter. But I don't know, I'm not entirely sold on them as much as I am sold on the Brooklyn Nets compared to them.
So my question to you is that, and I was guilty of it too, we both had Milwaukee as the 1 seed.
Right.
So are you going to stick to it?
Yeah, because I still think my take is true that KD and Kyrie might have some low management nights, and they both look healthy as can be and in their prime still without missing a beat. But if that's the case, and I can't see why they don't get the 1 seed, but I'm gonna stick to my gut, and maybe my gut's already wrong, and I'll own that. But it's a possibility, I think, and I still think Celtics getting the 2 seed, which is my prediction, is also a possibility.
Yeah, I thought they were going to have an extremely slow start to the season, to be honest.
And they still might.
And they still might. It's only the first game.
Yeah.
That was a great first game, but you have Brooklyn, and that could throw a huge, wrench in the plane, right? So I don't want to say that Celtics are going to go past the third seed, but I also don't want to say the Bucks are going to fall out of that one seed too because they have Giannis.
Right.
And,
Right.
they're just going to run over. Right.
Let's get into like the nitty gritty of what happened because I want to talk. Actually, let's talk about the shot first. I'll let you start because I have a take. Yeah, D shot. I'll let you talk about that.
When that shot went up, I thought it was way too high. Go back and watch that shot was way too high to look like it was going in. Like it was arced, and then like it was well above the basket. But the one play I thought of with it, and it's kind of funny, thought of this play, especially with the guy being, not inducted, but a nominee to be inducted into the Hall of Fame was I thought of Paul Pierce's Wizards shot. I think it was in 2015, 2014, where he got the ball on the inbound, spun around the free throw line, and then banked it off the glass. Right. And then the reporter asked him, did you call bank or glass, whatever it was? And he's like, I call a game. And I was totally hoping they were going to ask him that in the interview, and he was going to respond with that, and he didn't. But they didn't even ask him it, which I kind of was upset about.
He's too mature for that. He's 22. 22.
Oh, man, that shot was crazy. Over Giannis, too. Like,
you
step
banged
back
that right in the
over Giannis. Oh, my God.
Tatum sidestep right in the reigning Defensive Player of the Year's face, the reigning MVP, who is apparently a mental midget. You let that happen when you're the reigning Defensive Player of the Year. And I'm gonna kind of transition kind of slowly, but the Bucks get that bogus foul call at the inbound, and they get 2 shots to the line for Giannis. Draws the first one. He's such a mental midget. That shot is karma, and it embodies how the Bucks 2 previous seasons and their failures, how they underwhelmed. They come up just short in the playoffs against the Raptors and then against the Miami Heat. They're mental midgets. We have no reason to believe they can get it done in the big moments, and that's a big moment. It's opening night, but it's a small sample size, and until they can get over that hump, even just once, I have no reason to believe they can do it.
Yeah, they really needed that free throw. But I said it in the chat. I'll say it on the podcast. Ball don't lie. That was the definition of ball don't lie.
It really was.
That was so bad of a call. They called it, right? And they had to go back and review it because of, the rule and whatever. And they went back and reviewed it, and I was like, okay, there is no way this stands. There is no way. He didn't extend. He didn't hit him. If anything, Giannis hit Thompson. Yeah. Right. So there is no way this is going to stand. They're going to call us back. And then when they came out and said ruling on the court stands foul, and I was like, wow, we're going to have to go to OT. And I was nervous about OT because, Giannis had 35. Who knows? He pops off and goes for 45. Who knows, right? So I was like, damn. And then when he missed the shot, I was like, ball don't lie.
I don't know. I don't know if you felt this too. Maybe I'm just being dramatic, but it really just felt like he wasn't hitting that second shot.
I felt the same way.
It's the hitch in his shooting form, both on free throw line and just in the game. He was missing free throws during the game. He was airballing 3-point shots during the game. There's something. It just comes from being just a 7-footer with the longest arms in the world. Might just come with that, the price you pay, but that just didn't look good at all. Come from release, and then we saw him lose the ball, leave his hands. That's a line drive going from the front rim. He's not making that, obviously, but I don't know. It's good karma on our side, I think.
One thing I think the reason why he struggles from the line, and once again I'm going to quote Tommy Heinsohn because I heard this from him in his one of the many interviews that he did, was he said that it's hard for the big man to shoot, not because he's so tall and so lanky, but the fact that big men are so big and so strong that all they know is just use 100% of strength all the time, and they just don't understand how to shoot, and that's how sometimes you always see the big man struggling with shooting from the free throw line and beyond the arc. So maybe that has something to do with it, why he can't shoot the ball as well. But Giannis, bro, you gotta hit that. You gotta hit that, man. You're the reigning MVP, reigning Defensive Player of the Year, back-to-back MVP. Some people have you going back-to-back on the MVP, so you're gonna three-peat there, and you miss the game-winning or game-tying free throw. Come on, Giannis.
Like I said, not a huge deal. First game of the year, there's 71 more games to play, but that doesn't feel good. It's a sample size of a big moment. It's a chance to kind of redeem yourself for falling behind in a deficit all game long.
But that could bite you.
Yeah, it will bite you. It's going to bite you. like I said, there is no reason for me to believe that that Giannis and the Bucks are built for a playoff run or success altogether. They haven't in the past, and if it's moments like this where their leading franchise superstar is such a mental midget, then they're not going to get it done.
So I don't know if I just Googled it real quick to see if the Celtics and Bucks play again at some point. I'm sure they do at some point.
Well, like in these first half of the schedule, I know what you mean. I think they do. I think they were, yeah.
So I looked up on Google, and you type it in, it'll say the games, right?
Right.
They didn't say it, so I don't know if that means that they don't play them again, or if it's just Google being Google. They have to play them, right?
No, I think they do. I think there's just a substantial gap because I remember looking at the schedule. I thought I did see Milwaukee, but there was like that few, like to prevent travel. There was like those few back-to-backs, like in the same arena, just to prevent the schedule. So it's a wacky schedule. We only know half of it, like I said earlier, but. Speaking of the schedule, we'll move on from we'll celebrate tonight's win, but move on to Friday on Christmas. What are your expectations for KD, Kyrie, and the Nets?
They looked really, really good last night,
good.
their opening night. That Nets team, I think I tweeted out. I said, how many teams, not even in the league, but in league history, can have two superstars and then have an 11-man rotation that's like a good 11-man rotation, not just some guys you throw in, like a decent, very good, above average 11-man rotation. And I think I can only think of one team, and that was the Warriors teams. But I don't even know if they had an 11-man rotation. They just had a strong bench. So I'm looking at that. I'm like, this Nets team, I'm going to stick with the take that you had, Reid, about the load management. But if they didn't load manage, there's no reason why they shouldn't come out of the East and win the East and be the first seed. No reason at all. That seems good.
Kyrie Irving should not be allowed to bring that sage thing, where it is, to the Garden.
That was ridiculous.
Someone was in that for sure. Someone had to be in that.
I'm not even going to speculate about that. I'm just like, it's just like,
I'm kidding, yeah.
It's just
He's
stupid.
He's just a weirdo.
Like, what if, God forbid, like, obviously there has to be a flame there because you're lighting it. So what if, God forbid, like, the spark got out, and then next thing you know, the fire happens, and then, the smoke alarms go off, and then you know how that hell happens in buildings. Like, the whole place has to get out, even if there's no fire. I mean, then, that's such a mess. Like, just don't do it. Thankfully, none of that happened, but it could have.
Yeah, you and I kind of went back and forth in our chat after the game the other day, but you can see, like, Kyrie Irving's, like, having fun playing basketball for the first time in forever. Even during his years in Boston, it didn't look like he was fully enjoying himself. That was such a rocky relationship, that whole 2018-19 year. How much do you think was really the Boston media at fault for that fallout between Boston, New England, and Kyrie Irving?
So I think the Boston media, we're a more interesting media.
I'll say what we are. I'll say what we are. We're toxic. I'm toxic. You're toxic. We're all toxic.
I guess you could say we're toxic. But the one thing I would say is that the Boston media demands, like, excellence from you, right? And they demand you to just be tough and this, like, I'm not going to quote KG, but if you guys go find KG's quote about the Boston media, it's a little derogatory, but, I mean, you'll get what I'm saying. I mean, KG said it right. So, that's how you have to be in Boston. You have to be strong, right? And I just felt like Kyrie just just got too caught up in his own mental thoughts that he just, like, wasn't, I don't want to say strong enough, but wasn't able to just block out everyone and just play basketball, right? And I just felt like he just got too caught up in that. You know what I mean?
I mean, saying that I'm going to re-sign a year in advance probably didn't do him any justice as well. But I mean, you can't, if you're a Boston sports reporter and the Celtics lose like the Orlando Magic on some random Tuesday off a back-to-back, you can't just shove a microphone in Kyrie's face big. So you still want to re-sign here? I mean, they kept doing that all year round.
Yeah, they did do that.
But anyone's going to want to leave after that.
That's just like the Boston media, though. I mean, like, look at Belichick. They do it to Belichick all year this year. Hey, Belichick, after that crappy loss, you're going to start sitting him? Like, and literally, I mean, I don't know if you guys saw it, but I mean, it happened. Mike Reese, very well-respected Boston media member, he asked Belichick about it, I think today, and Belichick was like, "I'm not going to answer that question again." Like, that's just stuff that happens in Boston media across the sports. So I mean, like, I'm not going to say they definitely did have a part in it, but at the end of the day, I think it came down to the fact that Kyrie's not cut out to be the number one guy. Some guys in this league aren't meant to be the guy. And I think the reason why he's having fun in Brooklyn, because if you remember last year, it was a different story in Brooklyn. He wasn't having fun. They finished, the 6th seed? or something like that.
Yeah.
And he was the guy on that team, right? So now that KD's back, they had that one. Obviously it's only one game, but it was a great win against a good Warriors team, I feel like. And then on top of that, Kyrie's the second guy again. He it's like I said in the chat. I said it's basically like a Cleveland 2.0. KD and LeBron are kind of a wash. And when I say wash, I don't mean that they're bums and like utterly. I mean like they're similar, and you don't really need to compare because they're kind of the same guy, right? But everything else around Kyrie and KD is kind of the same as that LeBron Cleveland team. It's kind of just the same there, I feel like, and that's why they're going to be successful.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I expected a loss tonight against Milwaukee, and I was happily surprised. I'm not gonna get my hopes up too high. I think that this team, despite Jaylen Brown showing great maturity tonight against, like I said, the reigning 1 seed last year, we still got a lot of learning to do as a whole, and I think that I don't think that we're walking away with a win on Friday. I'm preparing myself for that, which is fine. I'm just looking for, like I said, more improvement from guys like Tatum and Brown playing against Kevin Durant, who is the best player at their position, and against Kyrie Irving. And despite no fans, like, it's gonna be like a hostile environment. Like there's a lot of tension between the two, despite all the fake handshakes and hugs that you see pregame between those guys.
Yeah, actually, the other thing too, I want to touch on, if we can go back a little bit to the Kyrie in Boston. I think a lot of it had to do with too, and I don't know if you remember this, but there was a point I think it was in March or April, when Kyrie literally said in an interview that he called LeBron to talk to him about like mentoring the young guys and stuff.
And apologizing,
And apologizing to him for being that guy, like for being like, what was the word he used? He used like, I don't remember how he worded it, but basically he apologized to LeBron to being like the Celtics young guys.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that just totally rubbed the Celtics guys the wrong way and was like, oh, so that's what you think of us. We're just like a nuisance to you.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
How can you not say that and then just turn around and be like, oh yeah, I want to come back and everything's all happy. Let's hug it out when I'm on different teams. Like there has to be something there. No way there isn't.
I mean, Kyrie Irving said this year that he's not coming out to talk to the media this year. And I'm saying to myself, like, you couldn't have done that in Boston. I mean, there are nights where he didn't really say anything when you wish he would have said stuff, but whenever he did say something on the mic, it was problematic.
I will say this.
Often, yeah.
There's going to be a time within like 10 years, 20 years down the line where we're going to find out what happened with this Kyrie Celtics team, and it's going to be something like this book, right? I'll be honest, I haven't read this book at all. It came out like 3 or 4 years ago, but it's Ray Allen's From the Outside, and I guess Ray Allen goes into details about his like relationship and why the Celtics fell apart in 2008. I've been wanting to read it for a long time, and I'm hoping I get to read it in the new year. But I mean, I think that's how you're gonna figure out about this relationship with Kyrie. Because if you guys, don't remember, before the book came out, it was very hard to figure out what happened between the 2008 team and Ray Allen. So I feel like that's gonna be something that happens with Kyrie. Obviously, on a much smaller scale, they didn't win a title, they didn't have the playoff success that 08 team had. But at the same time, like, I feel like that's the only way you're gonna find out about it. And hopefully, Kyrie's not writing the book. That's all I'm gonna say.
First thing I need to do is learn how to read, and then after that, I'll read the book and get my takeaways off of that. But I'm excited. I mean, we can preview the Friday matchup all I want, but I'm just looking for Tatum and Brown to take that step once more and start to build some consistency as we kind of sort of grind through this first month without Kemba Walker. But I mean, it's the second game of the year. If we do come out and lose, I mean, if we win, I'll be on cloud 9. But like I said earlier in the episode, that if we walk away 1-1, I see that as an absolute win.
The one thing I don't want on Christmas Day, and maybe this is just like you had to take the good with the bad kind of thing, but I don't want them to lose by like 5 points and be like, oh, if we just did this right, we could have won. Like, I don't want that at all. If we're going to lose, get blown out.
Yeah. What?
Right?
No, God, no. I'd rather
get blown up by like 10, 15 points, because I don't want the Celtics Twitter and all that to be like, oh, well, if Jason Tatum just hit another shot, we would have won the game, or know what I mean?
That's New England media being toxic, like I said.
I can't stand those takes. Those takes are so stupid. It'll be like people do it on the radio too. They'll be like, guys, if Tatum just shot an extra 5% from the field, they would have won that game. And it's like, yeah,
well, you're an active listener of. I mean, they're friends of the program, but you're an active listener of Felger and Maz, and they never have anything nice to say about the Celtics. I feel like you just reiterate their takes on to here sometimes.
No, they're not big Celtics guys. I will say this though about Kyrie and Felger and Maz. I don't know if you saw this, but back when Kyrie was in Boston, it's thought of that there was a segment on Felger Mavs where they were crapping on Kyrie after a bad loss, and somebody called into the show defending Kyrie heavily, and then went back and replayed it, and it sounded exactly like Kyrie.
Yeah,
and then it's like rumored that Kyrie was called into Felger and Mavs to defend himself.
Yeah. I mean, I remember hearing that. I didn't know if there was any information about that.
I remember listening to it, and then they went to commercial, and they came back, and they were like, "We think Kyrie called into the show," and they played back. I was like, "Oh my god, it's not just like Kyrie."
It really did. I remember that actually.
So that goes back to what the kind of guy Kyrie is and what he would do. But it's gonna be an interesting game, to say the least. Yeah. Brooklyn Nets Friday. No, not Friday. What is it? Thursday?
It's gonna be Friday. It's Friday. Christmas. Yeah, Christmas.
Christmas on Friday this year?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, today's See, COVID has just screwed up all my days. I haven't been in school in like 2 weeks, and I feel like school's like the way I keep track of my days. So the fact that I haven't been in school in like 2 days, it just like throws off my entire schedule. But Christmas on Friday this year. There you go. So definitely gonna be interesting to see how this Celtics team stack up against the Nets team on a prime time 5 o'clock Christmas game. I can't wait. It's gonna be a good game.
Nothing else to add on.
Nothing else to add on. Final prediction. Yeah. What is your final prediction for the Nets Celtics game?
I don't want to give any numbers, but like I mean I've been saying it all. So that you're looking at.
You're thinking a loss, right?
I'm expecting a loss. I mean, I expect
blowout or close.
Whatever you want to call that 10 to 15 point range. I want to call that a blowout, but I think that's. You want to see some nice spots. I think that's what Celtics fans got to look for, just spots against the Brooklyn Nets team.
I'm gonna say it's gonna be a close game, back and forth. I think we win. I'm gonna go with the win. I'm on cloud nine right now. I'm feeling good. They just beat Milwaukee. I think that's gonna carry in. I think there's gonna be some, not anger, but almost like maybe jealousy, I guess you could say, with that Nets team. They came into your place and absolutely destroyed you in the preseason. Kyrie walked around the place with the Sage, thinking it was like his place. Like I think you want to destroy that team, and I think they're going to go in with a vengeance and just absolutely destroy this team. I don't know if it's going to be a blowout and a win, but I'm expecting the Celtics just to come out and be like, no, you guys thought you guys could come in here and do all that crap. We're setting it straight right now. You know, we're 1-1. We're on even playing field right now. So I'm going to pick the Celtics to win. And I'll say it's going to be pretty close.
Yeah, I mean, if Tam and Brown come out with the mindset they had tonight, there's no reason they can't be competitive or even pull out a win if they're able to just do their job. And you got Tristan Thompson, who's back with the team they didn't have last time. Not that it's like the end-all argument, but it's a big man to combat guys like
Jared
Allen and DeAndre Jordan. Yeah, so I'm interesting. I'm excited.
It'll definitely be interesting. I'm looking forward to the KD Tatum. Going head-to-head as well. That'll be interesting.
Yeah.
But that has been episode 18 of the GRD Podcast. Thank you guys for checking out today's episode. Make sure you guys come back and we'll break down the next game. Hopefully it's a win, and we'll be happy just like we are tonight. And it's not, or if it's a loss, hopefully it's not too bad. But until next time, we'll see you guys then.
Music licensing reimagined.